Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Thank you very much for joining me. Tonight, I'm speaking to Ethan, a young chap from the northwest of England, who saw a really strange creature out in the farm roads one night when he was driving home with his mum. This creature was there in the middle of the road, and they could see it clearly. And as it moved off, it vanished and became transparent and just went away. So now you'll see me and Ethan chatting in a lovely chat that we had this week. I really enjoyed it, and I'm going to be bringing him back on in 2 or 3 weeks' time to have a live stream. If you want to join us on that live stream and talk about your experiences, let me know, and I will send you the link and you can pop in and join us. So now, here we go. Me and Ethan talking about the strange creature close to Warrington.
I'll start with the great grand thing.
Right.
So it was quite at least a year after she had passed because she passed 3 days after my 8th birthday, and we didn't move into this house until mid 2009, and it was around when I've just moved in here. That I've only ever had two weird experiences in this house. One of them went like that when my great grand had like I think like you said I may have manifested it. But I also had one that even me and my dog Ruby, God rest her soul, both saw in here, and that was my great uncle. Well, this was days after he'd passed. He passed during COVID in the hospital, and it's about 3 in the morning, and I'll see if I can show it you on the camera. Let's see if I'm showing you. I have this little alien. I think is he there? This
Yeah, I can
guy.
see.
He holds my candles,
Yeah, I can
and
see.
we live on a quite a busy road, and there's a lot of cars that come past, trucks and stuff, but never in my life, other than that night, shortly after my great uncle had passed away, when again I was thinking of him. And another thing is, my great auntie and my great uncle, so him and my actual great auntie by blood, they were very close with our dog as well. She used to spend the weekends there. We call it a little
Yeah.
holiday for her, and they absolutely adored her. So it must have been about 3:30 in the morning. I would have been doing what I was doing just before I came on, playing my games, and all of a sudden the alien violently shook from left to right about 3 or 4 times, violently shook, and I thought I was just crazy, but when I saw Ruby's face when she went like that at it, I knew she'd seen it too, and it's never done anything like that before, never after, no matter how many lorries or anything come past. That one sort of scared me because I just looked and I was like, what in the God's green earth is going on there?
It's
And
shocking. Yeah.
yeah, it really was. And I think that was I do think that was my great uncle letting me know.
It was
A lot
okay.
of, like, that is getting more and more deeper now because when Ruby passed last year, that first week, I know she's just, people say she's just a dog, but to
No.
me, I had her from being 10 to 23.
Yeah.
She got me, I was had a horrible time at high school and college, so having her really, she just helped me through it a lot. But that first week she passed, the amount of times I heard Ruby on anything I put on TV, I didn't, well, not even putting it on by myself, like my TV, because I have my PlayStation on it. My PlayStation is left on rest for an hour and I've not used it. It automatically turns on the TV.
Yeah.
And the first thing that came up when that happened, it's never been on the TV again, it's different shows, was I don't know the name of the show, but I know the location in it was called Ruby's Diner. And we were also, me and my grandma, because I went to stay at my grandma's a couple of nights after she passed to give my
Yeah.
mum some time. We were watching this guy called Duty Rhino, who does some paranormal investigations. And I'd never watched this video before. As I said to my gran, I think you'll enjoy it. Bit of creepiness. And all of a sudden he goes, who's coming through? And it just goes, Ruby. So that first week, in particular, I feel a lot of things have happened
Yeah.
shortly after a death. I don't know if that's because the spirits are maybe, I don't know, confused at that time, so they're trying to do anything to communicate, or
Yeah. And you're closer because at death or illness or when you're depressed or you're being preyed on, you put your thoughts out there. When I said to you before about manifestation,
yeah,
some people see that as in like you've conjured it up yourself. Well, kind of in a way you have because we're energy beings, aren't we? So that love that you had for your uncle and the love that you had for the dog, that doesn't break when they die.
No, not at all.
It just doesn't. So you can still tap into that energy and they can still tap into you.
And as my mum still cries near enough daily about Ruby. Whenever she asks for a sign, just so she, because she just wants to know Ruby isn't gone. And
Yeah,
she isn't. Every time she asks for a sign, we hear one.
yeah,
Or we see something. Like last night, she was crying, and I said, she'll give you a sign soon, Mum. All of a sudden, we just heard a very low dog bark. Complete near pitch black out. I think it was about 10:30. Low dark, low. Obviously, it was one of the dogs next
yeah.
around in the area, but still, just to hear it as soon as we needed it.
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly. It's called serendipity. And we told to not we told to like you said to me before, you first saw it was your gran when she passed.
The woman who means just the person who means everything in the world to me is her daughter, my actual grandma.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah,
that love, that
something
bond
about grandmothers a very very special connection, I believe.
there is. I mean, I have a grandson and he's my prince. And I'd like to come back and see him. I'd like to think
Yeah,
that, he'll know it's me.
I think you will, and
But
I like the fact that you're already saying that you'd like to come back and visit him.
I would.
Because my grandma's religious, so I don't really pry her with it too much. It's hard for me to get her to watch anything ghosty with me. But I always said, I've said to her, and I know it's a bit morbid, when you're gone, if you can, you'll show me a sign, won't you?
Yeah,
And she
she will.
said, yeah. Rolled her eyes, but yes. So
I had that conversation with my dad when he was passing. And he said to me, Debbie, if I can come back, I will. I will
yeah.
come back and let you know. And like my mum's heard his name. She's heard him shout her name. She's been
Oh wow.
in the house and a white feathers just
White
floated down.
feathers. That's another one.
Yeah,
We've had a lot of white feathers. That was when my great grand passed as well. We got a lot of white feathers.
that's love from your loved ones. I
And
look
it's just like people say, oh, it's just a coincidence. But why is the coincidence always happening at that time? At the time there's a loss. It
exactly.
can't be. Because how many white feathers do you got? You ever go out in the morning, and how many times do you see a white feather fall
You
right in
just
front of you?
don't,
You
especially
don't.
not in the living room. Or I think we were at a memorial actually. Thinking about it, we were at a memorial for him
Yeah.
at this, and it just fell into her knee. And she just looked so shocked. And then I think
It's
the year after when we went, Ethan, they didn't read my dad's name out, but they kind of read two separate people made his name. And they talked about one of them working at the place where my dad used to work. And it was like, he's
wow.
literally talking about my dad there. And I think you just, when you get to my age, you just kind of accept it.
One of the things I've come to realize is people aren't going to always believe what you've got to say. People
Mm.
aren't going to believe in the paranormal, the extraterrestrial, or full stop. They're not going to believe in anything otherworldly.
Yeah.
But when you've seen it or you've heard it, there's no way you can tell me I didn't see what I saw in Culcheth. There's no way you
No.
can't tell my mother that she didn't see what she saw in Culcheth. And I think before we get into the Culcheth phenomenon, one more thing. This was not a paranormal thing that I actually witnessed with my own eyes, but I believe is it Crewe
Yeah.
or Carlisle, whichever one's closer to Manchester.
Great.
Uh, about 10 or 12, me, my mum, my stepdad, and my little brother, we stayed at an old hotel there that had a famous grey lady,
Mm-hmm.
and apparently there was a tunnel that Queen Victoria once used, or yeah, I think it was Queen Victoria,
Yes.
and all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, but to my parents it was, when I woke up in the morning, he said, Ethan, I saw something last night, both of them. And apparently, when I was asleep, there was a very prominent, but not like formed, grey mist over my bed, over on me. And
Right.
I made that, I came to the assumption then that I think the paranormal or whatever it is, must seek people who want to know.
Mm.
A lot of the time. I feel like if they know, because I've always loved my paranormal and stuff. I know it's a shameless, but I was a big Most Haunted fan
You're allowed to like
yeah,
what you want. Yeah,
until I
yeah.
saw the Derek Acora, a few of his Mary Loves, etc.,
Same,
etc.
same.
But so yeah, I've always had not exactly an acceptance until I got a bit older, but I've always believed.
Yeah, you
And
haven't kind of ridiculed.
no, never.
That's
If
what I'm
there's
saying.
someone wants,
There.
if someone says they've got a weird story to tell me or something that happened to them, I'm one of the people who go, "Tell me, I'd
Yeah.
love to hear it." And instead of people just go, "Get a grip." So I've had that before. I'm just like, you weren't there.
The men in my family, they're all
Yeah.
big burly men, and like Mark's a big burly lad, and all of his mates are big burly lads, and they're all council estate lads, and they all, we love the boxing, and like we like, all of that stuff, and they've had experiences. And his friends will go to him and say, don't your Debbie take paranoid? And he'll say, yeah. And they go, oh, I love your wife because I seen this at River, or I seen
Ah,
this when I was fishing. And they're just normal folk like me and but they're seeing things.
exactly.
Yeah.
Something happened that's unexplainable, and they're gonna die by that because it happened to them.
Yeah.
No matter what anyone tells them, it happened to them.
They'll call round for a brew and I'll be working in bedroom or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'll come in and he'll say, yeah, I bet, like, he wants to talk to you. And then I just get my phone off the table and record him talking. And they tell me, so they've come to see Matt, they're probably on Xbox or whatever, having a lads' night.
Yeah, yeah, of
And
course.
it'll always get around to it. And one of them will tell me either a UFO story or a paranormal story or something they've seen when they've been out there. And I think it's because it's normal in our house. You're allowed to just talk about it like that.
But that's how it should be. People should be
Yeah.
allowed to express what they've seen, no matter how crazy it sounds to somebody. Because people do lie. People do lie.
Yeah.
I've met people. I mean, I know I don't mean to sound. I'm not going to say anyone specific, but a few of the people I've heard you interview sometimes I've just thought that doesn't seem right,
Yeah,
but
that.
they believe it. So I'm not
You've got to
going to
go
tell
with
them that they haven't seen it because they have. They've clearly seen it, whether it's what they think they saw or not. They've
you.
seen it and they've come out of their way and had the balls to tell you and
Yeah.
speak
But you're
publicly about it.
like me. I mean, me and you are on the spectrum. I have
Yeah,
Erland syndrome. So it's kind of like Asperger's. So I
yeah, yeah,
think we can pick up, we can read people because
yeah, definitely.
we're not great at social situations, but we're really great at like reading people, aren't we? So you can
Like
kind of
this would normally be so hard for me, but because I know you, you know
yeah.
what I mean. It's so easy to get on with you and tell you.
I think we
You're
use
the
a
most
different,
trustworthy person I know for this sort of stuff.
yeah, I think we use a different part of our brain. I think that's
Yeah.
why we tune into things, and I think that's why you've been having experiences. Were you in when you were in the car with your mum and you saw that thing? Were you relaxed? Were you?
Well, we were we'd gone to pick up something off one of them for sale groups on Facebook for our
Yeah,
boyfriend, and we already drove the route where we saw it on the way there, and it was pitch black. The only light was from at one point there was a bit where the motorway was underneath, so obviously that bit would have been busy, but other than that, pitch black, no lights, it was farmland. And on the way through, we said this is creepy, but we didn't expect to see what we saw. Once we got the stuff delivered, I
mm.
mean picked up, we went right. Let's go back, and then it happened. It was pitch black when it happened. Apart from the lights of the car, we
Mm.
were driving. I'm guessing we wouldn't have been driving fast, maybe 20, if
Yeah,
that, because it was farmland. We couldn't see
yeah. There's
anyone.
no lights out there, is there?
No, and it was almost like it wanted to be seen, but then decided it didn't.
Right.
This thing was bang center in the middle of the road, completely right there. It was. It's hard to explain. It was almost human shaped, but not the size of any human you see. Like if I went on all fours, I would be twice the size of it. But it
Right.
was still in that humanoid shape, sort of
Yeah.
very. How do you explain it? Contorted legs. It looked like its limbs were all contorted. And my mum believes that when we seen it and we braked, it turned its head and looked at us, but she
Right.
couldn't identify, and I don't really remember any facial features towards it. But obviously, we both crapped ourselves. My mum couldn't start the car for a second. She
Yeah.
was in shock. She was in shock. I was going, Mum, start the car now! And the way it walks off. So let's say going down a road. Was it a one-way road? It might have been.
Probably will have been. Yeah,
Yeah,
Dan.
yeah. Yeah, because that's why it was bang centre. It was one way, and it literally just looked up, did this weird walk away, like on its control. It looked like a lot of its limbs were moving more than the movement it was getting from
Yeah.
doing it. And there was obviously a lot strong brush to the left side, strong brush to the right side of the field. We saw its head and stuff going into the brush. It
Mm.
was completely walking right into it, but its back end, where its hind legs were, before it had chance to vanish due to the brush, it just disappeared.
Right.
Like I don't know, it could have been from another realm. Uh, it did some sort of cloaking, but it disappeared before I saw it disappear. It's hard to explain. I don't
No,
know if I'm getting it across right.
Daisy
So
explained it in a way. She said the one
yeah,
that she saw, it just kind of vanished like it were being rubbed out.
yeah. That's exactly it. Almost like someone just went with a rubber and it was
Yeah.
gone. And obviously, I sent you some images for reference of the
Yeah.
Wendigo, and it was like a much smaller version of that.
Hmm.
But like I said, that isn't exactly the
Yeah.
natural depiction of a Wendigo from what I've seen online. The deer head and skull. So I was I've looked at a lot of cryptids over the years. I've watched
Trying to
icebergs
find.
with hundreds, and one of the things that it was almost like an epiphany for me and my mum last night because I told her we were having the interview. I said,
Hmm.
"Let me show you something I thought about," and she went, "I think that's it, Ethan. Uh, have you ever heard of the Dover demon?
I have. Yeah. Yeah.
Very almost identical the body to that, but I wouldn't say the head was as alien-like.
Yeah.
But when we looked at that Dover demon image I saw, it was the perfect for the body. It was practically perfect.
It's like the wraith. Some
Yeah,
people, so yeah, some people. So it's like a combination. We can understand the leg movement and the legs as you think. Right, it's like they do even. I've
yeah.
got that bit right.
Like it's imitating.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
shape shifting, like a Wendigo kind of thing.
But that made me and my mum think last night, what if it was extraterrestrial?
Could be.
As much as I love my aliens, I never get the word out right.
I know. It's like me and Phenomenal. Can't say it. It's my job, and I can't say
But
it.
when I don't know why it didn't click sooner, but
Just because sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it'll be a smell, or it'll be something on the TV. It'll be
yeah,
a sound. It'll be a sight of something, and it suddenly rings a bell, and you think,
yeah. But that has made me think more, less into the cryptids and possibly
yeah.
extraterrestrial. But obviously, there was no UFO crash around to see or anything. There was nothing else. It was just in the middle of absolutely nowhere.
It is an area that has a lot of UFO reports.
I heard I think my granddad told my mum there used to be a chemical site there or something.
Go through Dunham Massey and keep going down till you get to Jodrell Bank.
Yeah,
Imagine you're standing at Jodrell Bank and draw a line from there to Ellesmere Port and a line from there to Todmorden, and that's the UFO highway. And it's
wow.
also filled with a number of reports, and I'm going to add them on after me and you have finished speaking, of creatures that people cannot describe. So we can't put a word in. The ones at St. Anne's, they call it the chimera.
Just
Chimera.
got a bit. Just got a bit of goosebumps.
Yeah, so I mean,
Honestly, yeah. Cause,
it might be something to do with that area. And then
yeah,
you're good at tuning in and you've tuned in and you've seen it and your blood comes from your mum.
that's I know, and that's one of the main things as well. I would have believed myself a lot less
Yeah.
if my mum wasn't there.
You know when your mum's scared? My kids say when mum's scared, shit hits the fan.
Yeah,
If your mum's scared, then you don't know what to do as a kid, do you? You're like,
I've
shit.
never seen my mum in a panic to the point where she couldn't control the car nearly.
I mean, I'm going to explain for people now. We're on a country lane out in
Yeah,
Rixton. Look, at that time of night,
probably about a mile to two
there's
miles long from the start of the country
there's
to
nothing out there but
yeah,
fields and farms. There's no street lighting or anything like that. You can't drive fast because there's deer, hares, rabbits, pigeons, everything comes flying out of them edges while you're driving them.
yeah,
And you've just been driving and caught it in your lights in the middle of the road, haven't you?
yeah.
So
But
why did you
how
not?
how I described it was bang in the middle of the road. That was why I meant like that's why I was saying it was like it wanted to be seen at first.
Yeah. Why
It was
do why?
almost like it was posing. You know what I mean? Right
You could
there.
have hit so easily. The bird you
Yeah,
coming from miles off. You seen
Yeah,
the light?
oh yeah, it would have 100% known we were coming. The
Yeah.
only light in the area.
So you were meant to see it, really.
Yeah, and I've gone really goosebumpy. You know what?
All
Just
right.
to hear it from you as well, it means so much.
It
Because
must make you feel better though to know that there are other people down there who.
100%, yeah, and the UFO highway.
Yeah, well, that's where my husband, Mark, was. I mean, I'm not that far from you, really.
No,
Like,
we're not at all, are we really?
not at all. And I worked it out, trying to work out Mark's experience, and I think it was coming from Jodrell Bank, and it was going phew, like that out to the coast, passing Winter Hill as it went.
Yeah, it would have been coastal way.
And when you
Would have took.
stood underneath that and you see it go, you said it moved like nothing on the earth can move. It just went like.
That was it. Because people were saying, oh, it might have been a skin, a
Yeah, could be.
hairless sheep or an owl. And I'm saying, an owl doesn't have four limbs and move like that.
No, they're not that big either, are
Even
they?
if a sheep does, we would have known if it was a deformed
You know,
sheep.
there's millions of them out there, isn't
Exactly. And the fact that we don't know what we've seen is what
there?
makes it so special.
You're living out there in the farmlands. It's silly for someone to suggest you it's an animal that you know. Even if they said it was a deer or something, you'd be like, oh, you know, it's just not going to. It's ridiculous. Them fields have either got sheep in them, cows in them, or horses in them, aren't there?
Yeah. Like one of the other things I was going to say was to people who don't believe in UFOs and stuff, or aliens, I just say just go out at night,
Yeah,
in a clear place and just look at the sky for a few hours and tell me you don't believe.
yeah, just that's it.
I've seen, obviously, I don't count it could have just been a plane, but I've seen lots of things that didn't look like planes in the sky. I'm just so surprised how many people just instantly, no, didn't happen. Bigfoot isn't
It,
real. You're talking out of your bum.
there's a few things going on there. Some people they like to be an expert on everything, so it wouldn't make them right if you were right, they wouldn't be right, so that worries them, so they've got to gloss over that. For others it's fair. There's
That's
what
just,
you've seen is real, and then they have to accept that it's real,
yeah,
you know, and that can shut them down.
I
And
understand
then
that.
there's just some people who are just it's not their time yet. They might laugh and joke about it now, but they might have an experience in the 50s or
That's
when
the
they're in
point,
the
yeah.
40s, you get what I mean? And then they'll be like, right, well, that's completely changed my view of the world,
Yeah.
kind of thing. But your first experience was when you saw your gran. Did you say you was around 9?
Yeah, I was 9. She
Right.
died
Well,
when I was 8, just after my 8th birthday. So it was about a year and a half after.
right.
And
Yeah.
a lot of the other stuff the other two things, the ghost and my uncle and Ruby, they've been almost immediately after the death.
Yeah. Yeah.
But with my gran, that's why I'm a bit less sure I saw what I saw with that.
You were thinking about her, you know, and like we were saying, she's probably. I know when my gran passed, I was really lucky. I was like, I mean, I had grown girls when my nana passed. I was really lucky. My nana was quite old. Um, and I felt her get on the bed behind me, and
Oh
I felt
wow!
her arm around me, and I could smell her, and I just thought, I'm gonna be all right. It's gonna hurt like mad, but I'm gonna be all right. You know, it was
Yeah,
just strange, and I probably needed it at the time, and I was lay on the bed and I was crying, and I was
exactly. It's almost when you need it the most.
exactly that one. I had a dressing gown on because that was the
Oh,
one thing. That was a dressing gown, and I
oh
have
wow!
tops and things and her earrings and everything. So she's always with me a bit. But I tend to find, Ethan, that my relatives are popping in and out because I'm
Yeah,
at the age now where I just accept it. You know, I think, oh, which one of them was that? Or, you know, it doesn't. I know that might sound
it
weird.
doesn't sound weird at all, Deborah.
That's the way my life's gone.
That's
You
what it feels like with Ruby at the moment. My
know?
dog.
Yeah,
It's like when she's needed to give us a sign. When my mum's in this,
yeah.
I mean, I'm just as hurt as my mum and stuff, but
Oh,
I
it breaks you.
don't cry as much. You know what I mean? But my mum's a crier, and
So
God,
you
God, if
processing.
Ruby hasn't been sending her signs, and I don't know who has. Trust me, the little ginger weasel.
You'll still be moving her hair this time 10 years. Yeah,
Oh
you
yeah,
hair
yeah,
all.
and
I
I'll
get it
show you a
completely.
picture of Ruby.
I said to Mark, when we lost Leroy was 19. Oh look.
She was gorgeous.
Oh, she is. She's
She was
beautiful.
a boxer cross lurcher.
Yeah, you can see the boxer in her. She's a bit like, right. I said to Mark,
We
I
used to
can't
call her the boxer from B&M because she wasn't full boxer.
be in a boxer. That's a cracking name for that. I couldn't get my breath when Leroy went. I said to Mark, I can't breathe. I can't
I,
breathe. I forgot how to breathe. It just took the
I've
breath.
never felt pain like it until Ruby
Yeah,
died.
it's a physical pain when you lose somebody you love. And
Yeah,
then,
I mean, because I don't want to get into too much detail. So if this ever goes on YouTube, my mum will want to watch it.
yeah,
Uh, she died in my arms. She was
no,
very ill. She had stopped. She couldn't walk for about gone a
it
year since
time.
she passed. So we did everything to
Yeah,
clean her, toiletries, and the amount of effort my mum and my gran and me put in with her.
yeah, it's a special love.
She was our baby, you know what I mean? She was a key moment of every day of our life, caring for her.
Yeah. I'll tell you something else, and else she'll bring another pup your way. That's what they do.
I know,
They,
I know. My mum's still grieving, but
they
I
will.
know it's not going to be long because
They
we
just
need
do.
it, and I think she'd want us to.
I was determined. No, not again. I said no, not
Hmm.
again. I'm not doing it. I can't do it again. And Mark was exactly the same. No, can't do it again. Can't do it again. And then this little pup comes along who needs rescuing, and we just looked at each other and we were like, we're doing it again.
Yeah, we're doing it again.
Yeah. So what? That's why we called him Roy, because we think that Leroy and Domino found him for us.
Oh,
He's a cross of the two of them, in all
oh
honesty.
wow.
So that's why we call him Roy. But
Oh,
yeah,
it's a
they do.
beautiful name.
They find a way of sending another pup your way. You can't.
Yeah,
You tell your mum you can't love something or someone 150% of the time and be fine when
yeah.
they pass away. And if you were, you'd be a robot.
I have cried a lot, but when I haven't cried and I felt like I need to because I've been hurting,
Mm.
I've hated myself for it.
No, no, no. You've got to let it out. That's how you process it. You've got to let it out. I remember my dad saying to Zane, "Don't cry." And I said to my hey, son, if you want to cry, you cry.
Yeah.
Because you cry when you're upset, you cry when you're hungry, you cry when you're happy, you cry when you're exhausted. You're allowed
Cry
to
whenever you need to,
God,
and that's what I would say to my mum because she
let it
always
out.
says, "Ethan, I'm sorry."
No,
But
just
mum,
yeah,
you're allowed to cry.
just cry. Go in the
Yeah,
garden, kick a plant pot, slam your kitchen
yeah,
cupboards, do whatever you need to do to release that emotion. It's society who tells you no, don't. Go and sit in
yeah.
that
It's
corner and be complete. No, you know, there's not a human being on
so
this.
many self expectations of from stuff that doesn't have any impact. What happens in your life, you're gonna react organically no matter what.
Yeah. But and we used to grieve as a tribe, back in the day. So if one of
I've seen.
our
I like
animals,
archaeological stuff as well. I've seen
yeah,
stuff from what are they called? Neanderthals and how
mm,
they bury and
yeah, you
grieve
could
people.
grieve as a tribe. So you would go to a grieving and mourning process, and that's how we get these rituals around death
Yeah,
because the people did them, earlier than us, and it's a way of recognizing a thing that there's nothing on this earth that when you love something and you're torn away from it,
yeah,
you you're supposed to grieve. It's a
yeah.
process. You're supposed to go through it, and it's just society, modern society, that's gone no, because that you won't go into work tomorrow if you're upset.
I know I hate that sort of stuff.
Exactly. We should
Like
say you go and take as much time as you need.
even
You
when
know,
I was at school, I remember when my first dog Henry had died. I had to go. They were saying you have to go in school the next day, and I literally, even at 8 years old, said to my mum, "Well, I aren't. I ain't. Am I?"
not till you're ready. I think we've forgotten. Well, we haven't forgotten. We've had it took from us, haven't we? Really, especially like my generation, which would be like your grandma and your mum. It's you're supposed to be this staunch thing, and you're not supposed to cry, and you're supposed to be able to carry the world's weight on your shoulders. That is
Shoulders, yeah.
bloody impossible for anybody to do. It's ridiculous.
A lot of the time, we as people we build up stuff in ourselves until
Yeah.
it literally is like a boiling point. We have to give ourselves the relief our body needs.
When you saw that creature, when you and mum saw that creature
Yeah,
in the road, that's a real shock. And now, even if it's just a jump scare, it's a shock. But you're
yeah,
looking at something that's not of this world.
exactly.
It could have turned, it could have gone for the car. You don't know what it's going to do,
That was the whole thing on all the way home. Well, not home. We went to my uncle and my auntie at the time lived in Ireland, so we went
Right.
back there. And I was just thinking, what if it's under the car?
Yeah.
What if it's come to the wheels?
What if it follows us home?
Yeah. What if it? Then I was like, well, I'm looking going to my uncle so he can deal with it.
Yeah, but you know you're right, because that's what I thought when I saw that thing.
Yeah,
What if it follows me home? What if it knows where I am?
it's almost like a primal thought. Like
Yeah.
instantly, you think the worst. What's going to happen now? Because I've seen something that I shouldn't have seen.
He knows that I've seen him
Yeah,
with a window. You know, as you go up the stairs, and there's a window that looks out like onto next door.
yeah.
I used to get to the top of the stairs, catch my breath, and run past it as fast as I could because I thought I was going to
Yeah.
see the window. Yeah, I thought it'll be at the window looking at me.
I used to be absolutely terrified of going anywhere, and even downstairs in the dark at night. Even if everywhere was lit up, there's just something about the darkness, isn't there? And
Yeah, there is. Yeah, and then honestly, you've got to knock about with your mates down there and afterwards, aren't you? You're still going to be driving the roads with your mates and stuff like that in the car.
Oh yeah, 100%. I've never been down that road again, and I don't plan to.
Oh, that's it, and that's how it is. It's just like I was talking to another chap in Scotland, and he said the same thing. And he's on a road he drove a lot with his mates. Say, go drive down there, go out rabbiting, and have a bit of shoot, get in the car, and go home. Yeah. And he's driving down, and he said this thing it was about 12 o'clock at night, pitch black, same kind of setup, and this thing just ran from that side of the road to the other. He said it was clearly female, it had breasts and long hair. And I think I hit her with the car. I was convinced I'd hit her with the car. And she just vanished into
To vanish again.
just vanished.
Yeah.
It's this thing, and I thought, why is she showing herself to him?
I know you've discussed it in prior videos, but do you think there is something to the different dimensions?
Don't understand it, Ethan. I don't the learning to understand it. But I call my peripheral world. I think there are other worlds that we tune in and out of, and I think they run alongside us. I just don't understand it. I don't know how to put it into words. Do you get what I mean? But yeah, I do. Yeah. I'm a great believer in that, and I think we used to know that, and we used to interact with that.
As gone on, we've become a lot more against the ideas of spiritualism and powering up. I feel like it's been just put to the side. No, it isn't real, but
it's like
if you look in history, there's so much more.
You've got
so much more evidence of people believing.
We've been invaded since the time that we lived here, so we had our original beliefs, right?
Yeah.
And then every invader that's come in has put those beliefs on top of that. To the fact that now we've got so many religions in the country, and we just didn't have it back then. We were connected to the earth and nature, and I think as each religion's come in, they've gone, not get rid of that heathen. That's a heathen practice.
Nope.
Yeah, let's get rid of that. So we've been now this like watered down version of what we used to be. That's the reason you get blokes who go fishing week in, week out, because they're good at it and they enjoy it and they're out in nature and it makes them feel good. And back then, that's how you lived every day. You did what you were good at, so you were always confident because you were around people who lifted you up and said, "Oh yeah, you're the best hunter. You go and get it."
I had a haircut today and the beard trim, and I've had about 3 different people message me and say you look great, and it builds you up so much. And
in all honesty, I work with people with energy, Ethan, and you've got an amazing energy.
Oh, yeah. Really?
Yeah, you have. You've got a lovely energy. And like I say, we've known each other for a while. But
at least 5 years.
I've learned so much more about your experience. Now I can imagine what it was like for you.
I'm so happy I've been able to. Deborah, you don't understand it. Like I was saying before about the goosebumps I was getting, the relief, and just to be able to speak about it.
You are completely normal. You are absolutely perfect. You are just what Ethan's supposed to be. So you can do whatever you want. You've got all the colours, and you can go out there and draw whatever landscape you want to draw. Yeah? And you just do it. And then if anything else happens weird going forward, instead of saying, is that me? I'm a crackers, I'm a crazy, accept it, just go, well, that happened.
Well, that happened today, yeah.
Yeah, well, that happened. And then you move on. And it gets easier and easier and easier as you do it. And you'll find yourself in a person, you'll get a bit more confident with yourself. Yeah? I think the world is made up of people with paper masks on. This is what I tell my girls. When people go out their front door, they put the mask on, like the society mask on, and they kind of leave all their empathy and compassion at home, because it is a dog-eat-dog world out there, isn't it? But then there's people like me and you who are walking around, and we're like a battery for emotion.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So we pick up other people's anxiety and other people's stress and other people's illness, and we think it's ours. So you've got
Mm.
to work out, like, why is my heart pounding? What is it, me? And I just think, if you can get yourself to that situation and think, this might not all be mine, this is someone in this room and I'm picking up on it, you stop carrying it around as much.
That's a good point because we do definitely. I definitely pick up on a bad vibe, even if somebody, say they've come in, they've said nothing.
You can
Say
tell.
two people have come in and they've said completely nothing. I can tell. Say I'm giving them a haircut. I'd be able
Yeah,
to tell just by sitting with them for that amount of time which one of them's nice and just
yeah,
can't communicate it, and which one of them's just nasty and doesn't
that's what
speak
it
for
is.
no
Yeah,
reason.
that's what it is. And then,
It is easy to read people.
but society says to you, that's a mental illness. That's
Yeah,
just
I've got
you. That's
autism. I've got.
social anxiety, and you're like, it's not a social anxiety. There's definitely something wrong with that person there.
It's
Yeah,
almost like a little superpower. But
that is
it's
exactly it. I've never
of
heard it.
all the things I could have wrong with me, I'm happy it's something like that. And it to say it's something wrong with me, it's not. It don't feel
Yeah,
right.
that's it. That's it. I've never heard anybody say it like that, but it is. It's a superpower. It's
Yeah,
like, there are people like me and you who get paid hundreds of £1,000s because they can sit down and tell who's lying.
yeah, it's a good point.
It's a job for them because they built it to an ability where it's just natural. But for me and you, we're like, am I doing the right thing? Am I feeling
Very
it?
cautious with what we do. Yeah,
Yeah, but you'll get much. It gets much easier, much
I know.
easier.
I hope it gets easier, and now what? Honestly, since this talk, I feel like I can accept it a lot more. You've explained it to me in such a
Mm.
brilliant way, Deborah.
Do you fancy doing a live stream, me, you, and a couple of others, maybe in a month's time? We'll get us all on
Oh,
like
I'd
that,
be 100% down for that. Yeah.
and we'll just have a natter between ourselves about the weird stuff that's been going on.
Oh,
And
you don't understand how much I'd love that. Deborah, this has been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much.
really, I don't mind at all. I'm sat at home, with a cup of tea, sun's
I
shining.
chewed your ear off. I've spoke so much more than I thought I would have.
Honestly, it's fine, isn't it? This is what we need. We need
It is.
this in the pub, at the gym, in the cafe, at the kebab shop. We need people just talking about it like it's normal, because it is. I chatted for a little while, and then me and Ethan ended the conversation. And I asked him if he did get a new pup, and she was a girl, if he'd call her Emerald. I thought that was very fitting. But I wanted to go online and have a look and see what I had in my notes. And I remember a chap called Lee Hughes, because it's a family name of mine. And I wondered if we were possibly related, because my family are from the same area. And it was St Oswald's Church, and it was built 1330. It was a Grade 1 listing building. And it says that three giant skeletons were discovered under the chancel in the church in 1828. Lee said, in the early 1800s, the church was extended and an ancient burial mound was disturbed. Within the mound, they discovered three 8-foot giant skeletons. Now, this isn't a local myth or legend, it's a factual recorded account. He said he seems to remember reading that the skeletons were taken to be studied somewhere in Liverpool, but when he searched for them, there was no explanation of what happened to those skeletons. There are also numerous ancient burial sites and ancient wells in the area, and a number of ley lines, and quite a lot of strange activity. So I'm not surprised that Ethan and his mum experienced something out there that night. Whatever direction we go, whether that be left, right, north, west, east, or south, there are other reports. It's also very close to two, one being the River Irwell, the second being the Manchester Ship Canal, somewhere I know well. An area I've been looking at quite a lot. It's where my grandfather's family settled when they came from Ireland. And if I go just to the east of there, it's where my grandparents on my dad's side also settled at Barton Moss. They were barges, they lived on the barges down there. It brought back a lot of memories for me, being out on the farm down there and visiting the horses and going to the horse fairs and everything. I really enjoyed chatting with Ethan. It was really easy to talk with him. And I think going forward, knowing that experiencing these things in the area is not just something he has to shoulder alone. If we look at all the things we look for in cryptid reports, UFO reports, paranormal reports, we're looking for places where ancient sites have been desecrated in some way, or they've been built upon, disrespected in some way. and the land feels that. And sometimes people enter an area like a catalyst and an experience happens. And I think it's no coincidence that Ethan and his mum are very, very close to dogs, and what they saw was some kind of animal down on all four legs. I don't think it was an incidental sighting. I don't think it was by accident. I think they were meant to see it. I just don't know why. There's a story there, isn't there? But going forward, Ethan's going to do some online work and have a look and see what he can find out about the area. And I think the part about the giants is very fitting. I know that they say that St. Oswald was the king of Northumbria and he was buried in the church. So it must have been of great interest to us, even as far back as the 6th century. You know, there would have been a priory site on the land. And I think that people in this modern day age are just experiencing the same kind of phenomena that our ancestors have, experienced for years. So I hope you enjoyed tonight's chat, and I will be back at the same time on the same day with more exciting experiences from the BBR Case Files.